Jen, it seems like every time we come together, we're talking about questions that come to mind with friends when we meet, but questions that are dealing with aging. And I'm sure you have those same questions out there. So I was thinking, why don't we just start answering some of these questions?
It is something that comes up in conversation a lot with friends, isn't it? In one way or another. Usually starts with how do you look or something that bothers you about your appearance, but it always goes into, oh, my age. And no matter what age you are,
Exactly.
that's what people say.
I had lunch with a friend, and maybe this has happened to you. I had lunch with a friend recently, and we barely sat down at the table, and she says to me, she says, Bonnie, are you beginning to feel differently about your husband now that he's older? And I thought, she's not the first person who's asked me that.
That is a common question.
Yes.
Or concern, I should say.
Exactly. And the other friend I sat with who said, how do you feel about your wrinkles? It seems like everybody around me is getting Botoxed and facelifted and doing all these numerical laser treatments. And I don't really want to do that.
And what's the stance that your friends have? Are they kind of against that because it seems unnatural, or do they embrace it and say that's our choice and that's what we should be able to do?
I would say 90% of my friends are happy to live with themselves as they are. Maybe not always happy, because I'm not always happy living with myself as I am either.
But they make that decision.
But they make that decision as being the right decision for them. Somebody very close to me had her neck done because she said that will make her feel so much better. And I think it has. And with AgeEsteem, I think what's important is to realize that we're not all alike. There is not one answer fixes everybody.
And there's no right or wrong.
No.
Not to have judgment on people who have one opinion or the other, because really it is our freedom to do that if we choose. And I would hate to take away that freedom.
Right. And who knows what we may choose later.
Exactly.
Today, this is how we feel. And I think that's what's important when one truly feels good about herself. If you feel good about yourself at the age you are today, every day, then you realize these choices are yours. You don't need to do what the next door neighbor is doing or what all of my friends are doing.
And I think that's the point. You shouldn't do it because that's the only way you're going to feel good about yourself. Hopefully you feel good about yourself, and then you make that decision that you want to get that surgery or lift or whatever, and it makes you feel even better, but it's not your way of getting self-esteem.
Exactly. And with that dimension of age, that is so important. Do one of the questions that comes to me very often from people is, how do I feel good about myself now that I'm getting older, now that I have wrinkles, now that life is slowing down, people don't seek me out as much, the children have left home, even the grandchildren in many instances are getting old enough so they don't need you anymore. And, what is right for me so that I do feel good about myself at the age I am?
Right. And that when your life goes around your family and your family doesn't need you, then what is there for you?
Right.
But it's an exciting time, I think, because there's so many opportunities to discover new things and new interests and to focus on yourself more.
I believe it's behind the concerns of a lot of people out there when they're asking this question of, well, what do I do now? Because that identity that was so precious to so many, especially women we'll talk about in this case, where she's been the mother, she's been the wife, she's been the career person with a title or president of the local association or whatever. And suddenly the children have left, the husband's winding down, and she doesn't feel like she's as sought after. It's a moment where, let's face it, we start asking ourselves, am I still sensuous? Am I still beautiful? Am I still interesting? And those are very important questions. Which brings up, wouldn't it be interesting to just answer all these questions that people have been afraid to ask about aging?
I think it'd be a great idea.
So today is the beginning of a whole new project. And that is AgeEsteem Live, where you will find the answers to all those questions you've wanted to ask about aging, but have been afraid to ask. Ooh, this is going to be fun.
We're not afraid to ask anything, are we?
No. And we're not afraid to try to find the answers. I think we'll both admit, despite our fantastic backgrounds and experience, that we do not have all the answers.
But we sure are interested in exploring the topics.
Yes, and finding the people who can give some of those answers. Ooh, this is
That's
exciting.
a great way to wrap up that segment, isn't it?
Oh, I think so. So we hope you'll be back to join us next time as we start to unravel some of these questions and to seek out the answers that will help you feel good about yourself at the age you are today. And we can use a bit of that too, can't we?
Always.
Always.
That's why I hang out with you, Bonnie.
Well, I hang out with you.
Thanks for being
Bye.
with us. Bye-bye.
Lots of love.